hypothetical, ideal situation of music as I see it. We have our love of music. Because we love music, we listen to it. That makes us inspired. We want to play the music we love or sound like the players we love, so that makes us practice. And that practicing has its purpose. Then if we're performers already, we might perform, or we might just rest, practiced enough, or we learned our lesson, integrate a bit. That fuels our love of the music, listen, inspired, practice, etc. The circle of life continues beautifully. Now, what happens a lot, I call it the shift from just loving music to now I need to play well, whether that's your career, you're studying it, or just your personality type. So now instead of just a love of music, it's a need to play music well. I got to get better at music. Now listening has an element of comparison at times, or perhaps a lot of times. Now you're judging yourself based on your performance or others, at which point that might just kill your motivation completely. Or you push through, you practice from a little bit more of a forced place, or I need to get better place. You're still gigging, or you're still perhaps doing what you need to do, but there's more pressure behind it. You don't like how you sound. Now I need to play well. Now there's more comparison. Right? You may be familiar with this loop. And in my experience, we tend to vacillate. We can go through periods of time, or at any moment, one thing can trigger you into like a more of a, hyper alert self-judgment space. Musicians face some unique challenges with our relationship emotionally to our work, right? Because it's something we love, it's a passion, but now it might be linked directly to our career, our paycheck, our family's paycheck. So our survival response is now linked to this thing that was just a love at one point. We love music. You might want to play many styles well because you love it, but now there's so much to learn. There's a lot of overwhelm. I need to sight read. I need to do this. I need to do that in order to survive or to get a good grade, or just even my own interests become overwhelming. And when we play or teach, it's a performance on some level, right? You might feel like you're being judged, and your whole value or worth as a musician is based on like, what do my students think of me, or how did I sound on this gig? So it's nuanced for musicians, right? We're going to look at this in the context of triggers. This is what we're going to be hopefully releasing some of, right? We all have triggers in our musical lives as well as our personal lives. You've probably heard this term before. Anything that creates an emotional response we don't like is a simple definition of a trigger. They change the color of our relationship to music, our careers. You see something, it affects you in a certain way. Here's how it might play out and create a negativity loop, right? You've got that, okay, I need to play well. Music is my profession, as one example. You see an empty or light calendar. Like, I don't have a lot of gigs, or maybe I don't have a lot of students. That triggers, okay, but I need to make money. Now, maybe there's fear, maybe there's urgency. Now you might be comparing yourself when you see, oh, so-and-so is busy and I'm not. What's wrong with me? Why are they busier than me? Shame, guilt, self-judgment, right? All of these can be amplified or start becoming activated because of a particular trigger. So in this example, the light calendar is a trigger. Someone else posting their gigs could be a trigger. If you're a student, right, an upcoming lesson could be a trigger. I want to play well for the teacher. Right? This could be a similar response for any phase of your musical development. Right? Now, these emotions that I mentioned, fear, shame, just a quick side note, I don't consider these emotions bad, even though they feel bad. They're protective mechanisms. I see them as having a reason behind them based on your past experiences. And we won't get much into that, but it's just a side note, right? We're not trying to get rid of so-called bad emotions. It's something is needing to protect you, and we want to kind of retrain that so it doesn't feel like you're actually threatened, which might sound strange that seeing someone busy on Facebook or Instagram creates a threat response in you, but it's kind of how it works on some level. So for musicians, though, one of our traps is when it comes to our emotional well-being, try to break out of these loops, we will often turn everything back to practicing, improving ourselves as musicians, right? If I practice more, I'll sound better. If I work harder and improve my career, then my circumstances will improve, and then I'll feel better, right? The problem is that this actually can work to an extent for musicians. If you start making some growth or you get a couple gigs, you might be like, okay, I'm feeling better. So that's the answer, right? Except that's temporary, it's impermanent. The goalpost will always move. You'll need more at some point. And you're still looking for an external cause. So even your own playing, which can be confusing because it's like, well, improving my playing is sort of a self-improvement. But if playing bad or sounding bad, in my opinion, equals I feel bad about myself, or less gigs equals I feel bad, I feel undeserving, I feel shameful, that's still an external cause, right? It's the instrument, it's the gigs. It's subtle because it's still kind of you, but we want something that's a little more stable so that your emotional well-being is not dependent on these things. And so what do? Well, we need to understand how to break this trigger response loop, right? So hearing a recording, seeing a post, being asked to improvise doesn't actually have the same response. It's no longer a trigger or a much less trigger. So in order to help break that response, we need, well, a basic understanding and some practical how-to steps. Just like learning your instrument, you need to know, okay, this is a C scale, your fingers go here, you have some context. So we're looking to kind of give you a C scale of working with your emotions here. So again, the trigger might be an empty or light calendar, someone posting gigs, an upcoming recital, upcoming lesson. If you're in a college, which are like, it's trigger central, right? Other students, you hear them practicing, you've got grades, you've got other students the same age as you already getting gigs or whatever it might be, right? So those are the triggers. The emotions it brings up are whatever they bring up. And this is very important. You each have a personal, unique response to any trigger. There's a lot of shared experience as musician, but your specific reaction is specific. And they're different for different people. So a light calendar for one person, that could lead to fear. Another could just be sort of inspired, like, oh, that kicks me into gear. Another person, it's crippling anxiety. My life is falling apart. Someone else, it's just very matter of fact. Okay, I got less work on the calendar. I got to send out some emails, got to put some flyers up, whatever, right? Someone else's success can be inspiration for one, dread or feeling of inadequacy for another. Another doesn't even think much about it. They don't even pay much attention. Being asked to improvise, oh, that sounds fun, to like abject terror. What's so important about this is why generic advice usually doesn't work. And I see people beating themselves up often when I work with them, because they'll say like, well, I know I'm not supposed to care what other people think, right? The advice, just don't focus on them, just don't care what they think, or just work harder, just focus on yourself. This advice is completely irrelevant if the response to a trigger is something like crippling anxiety, or your self-worth is connected to how busy you are. It's impossible for you to not notice it and not care. That actually will be bad for you because you are now judging a natural reaction that's coming up as a protective mechanism. So now something is trying to help you, and now you're judging yourself for it. If that sounds familiar, yeah, there's a reason why it never works to just keep telling yourself to stop caring. We kind of want to do the opposite. We want to look at this reaction directly and learn how to be present with it. I say to relax and respect what is actually happening. So you get triggered, right? Whether it's the calendar, the upcoming performance, you compare yourself to someone doing more than you. Do not minimize it. Notice that immediate instinct to go like, oh, I'm not supposed to care about that, or whatever your particular thought pattern is. Say, no, this is a reaction that's happening in my body, mind, nervous system to something. I'm not going to minimize it. I'm going to become curious about what this actually is. I'm not going to try to reframe it and say like, oh, I'm just going to make it a positive thing when everything in your body is saying this is bad and I don't feel safe, or I feel ashamed, or whatever. Respect that. Expect something very real is happening for you. And to not immediately jump to an external solution, again, including practicing your instrument. Okay, I just need to sound better and work harder and use this as fuel. Be careful of that. These responses are not random, and they don't mean you're a broken person. It's actually quite the contrary. These responses are because you have a functioning nervous system that associates these triggers with something. Now, when we can be present with a trigger, we can begin the process of deconditioning the response. And we want to have tools, not just to calm down, but to actually begin to break those triggers. So like I said, we'll give you a recording one, but also, again, I want the trigger to not actually have the same response. But it starts with this. It starts with the ability to be present with the trigger, to be present with the emotion to not jump to an external solution. So I'm going to guide you through that next. Might be on the next video, depending on how we separate this up. So let's jump into that.